welcome to the Motorsport Coaching Podcast, sponsored by MotiV8 Training Management. This is a podcast where we talk to drivers and industry experts to help you maximize your performances on and off the track. Let's get started with today's show. Have you joined our groups, Motorsport Fitness or our Motorsport Sponsorship page? Race over to @MotiV8T on Facebook, scroll down to groups and come over and join us. Daily we have free tips and strategies to help you maximize your performances on and off the track. On today's show, episode 76, I'm joined by the one and only Michael Italiano, who is Daniel Ricciardo's coach. We talk about how he got into his role, what his role actually is, what they've been doing during COVID-19, and some great tips about getting started on your motorsport fitness program. Hope you really enjoyed the show, guys, as much as I did. Grab that pen and paper, enjoy your coffee, and let's welcome Michael to the show.
Hey guys, Alex Gardner here, go-kart racer from Queensland. I've been with MotiV8 for about a year now, and I've definitely benefited from her and her crew. Nutrition, social media, sponsorship, and exercise is what she helps me with. She also does mental strength as well. I'm looking forward to my journey ahead with MotiV8 Training.
Well, I'm going to say good night, but it's good morning to you, Michael, over in the UK, and welcome to the Motorsport Coaching Podcast.
Hi, Belinda. How you doing? Thank you for having me.
I am so excited. I know I say this every week, but, I've got a full-on personal training coach or personal coach on today's show. And I'm looking forward to hearing your story and how it all come about. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Michael.
Yeah, it's quite crazy, actually. A lot of people won't know this, but I actually started in the civil and structural engineering industry. So I was studying civil and structural engineering, and I was working a 9-to-5 office job for about 7 years. And during this time, I was quite actively into sport. I always played competitive sport throughout, I think, since I was the age of 5. So I was playing AFL. That was taking up a lot of my time as well. I was playing at quite a serious level. So I always had a passion for health and fitness, and I kind of had a bit of a moment at my office desk, and I kind of thought to myself, if I'm sitting in this desk in 10 years' time, would I be happy? And the answer was no. So I picked up some books for some motivation, and I picked up a book by Robert Kiyosaki. It's a popular book. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, read it.
And great. And I read that, and it talks about the fear aspect of fear and how it can prevent you from a lot of life lessons and life decisions. And so I took that book on board, and I thought, no, let's do something that I'm passionate about. And health and fitness was something I was extremely passionate about. So I started studying, and before you know it, I became a strength and conditioning coach in Perth, and I started my own company as a sole trader, and started helping a whole range of athletes. So a lot of AFL boys, rugby boys, golfers, mixed martial arts, a lot of corporates as well. I actually had a lot of mothers as well. So it was a full range of clientele, and I really enjoyed it. It was so rewarding. It kind of happened real quickly, to be honest. I kind of transitioned quite quickly, and then before you know it, Daniel randomly offered me the job at the end of 2017. So I say randomly, we were friends, but we never really initially discussed any type of potential of taking our friendship to a business level. So it did come randomly. And I happily accepted at the end of 2017. And I'm in my third year in Formula One, and it's been really, really eventful, and it's been a real big eye opener into the realm of F1. And no, I wouldn't change it for anything. It's been amazing.
And so did you meet Daniel through the West Coast Eagles? How did that relationship come about?
No, I met him, I think we were about like 11 years old. So through mutual friends. Yep. Yeah. But, we were friends, but we didn't see each other much, because I think by the age of 14, 15, he was already off to Italy, aspiring to become a Formula One driver. So he'd probably only come back once a year in December for Christmas to see friends and family. So I'd probably only see him once or twice a year, but we always kept in contact, through social media and through, WhatsApp and whatnot. That's the beauty about technology these days. So, we always stayed in touch. And when he'd come back, we do a little bit of training together. But what I mean by training is I wasn't the coach. It was just more friend and friend, go for a run or, do a workout together because he knew I had similar interests. So, it was quite humbling to get him to see me, give me the opportunity, but also believe in me as a coach to help him, again, aspire to his big dreams of becoming a world champion.
And so, Michael, when you got that phone call or the WhatsApp message or email, what first went through your mind? Like, what happened? Like, how did it all come about? Was it a phone call? Was it an email? And did you go, yeah, like you're saying, like you had a fantastic experience training AFL and rugby and than other mums and dads. So, yeah, what made you go, you know what, I'm going to pursue this?
Yeah, I actually remember it quite fondly. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning because usually I had clients at 6 a.m. I had some corporate clients at 6 a.m. that like to get their day started early. Yeah. And I remember waking up and I had a WhatsApp message at about 3:15 a.m. So obviously it was from Daniel, and obviously because he was in Europe, so the time difference. And I read it half asleep because I literally just picked up my phone and it said something along the lines of, "Hey mate, would you like to travel the world with me next year?" And he put a question mark. And there wasn't much context with the message. So him being a bit of a joker, and we have a bit of a humorous relationship, so I kind of took it as a bit of a joke. So I kind of told him to bugger off. I just completely blew off the message and sent him something like completely cheeky back. And then I think during that day, he actually called me and said, "No, I'm actually serious. Would you be interested in sitting down when I'm back in December and talking through it?" So yeah, that's when I kind of sat back and thought, "Oh wow, okay, he's serious. This is something I need to consider." So and it kind of happened all quick. We sat down at the end of December, and he's kind of like, preseason starts January, so I'm going to need you to move your life to Europe, in late Jan. So I had about 30 days to not only decide, but then, take my whole life to Europe and move to Europe. So it was actually mayhem in January trying to prepare everything. And it was probably only until I actually landed in London and got my little flat set up that I actually sat back and kind of pinched myself and thought, okay, this is what's happening. I didn't really have time in Perth to kind of digest it all because it was just such a big rush to try and get everything sorted. So yeah, it was a bit of a shock, and I still get these mornings where I wake up and pinch myself for sure. It's a great lifestyle, and it's a great job.
And I was thinking that after I sent through the questions, I didn't ask anything about family. Did you leave a partner behind for you to take up this career opportunity? And how did you go about family? And as you said, you had a successful business. So how did you, I guess, palm that off or wrap that up or transport that over to the online business or whatever it is now? But yeah, more so about the family aspect of it. As you said, it kind of just transpired over 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Did you?
Yeah, exactly. No, good question. So obviously I left a lot of family behind. I have a partner. So she fortunately came with me.
Oh, fantastic.
So that was a bit of a discussion that we had to have. She was all for the journey. So it was quite a smooth transition, believe it or not. It's kind of got to London, had to, figure the place out. It was way too cold for me.
I had to adapt to the weather coming from Perth, but yes.
No, we didn't. I had to buy a whole new wardrobe, believe it or not, because jumpers that are made in Australia, they're not built for European weather. They go straight through the wind here. So, it took a bit of getting used to, but I guess because the job was so busy and I had to pretty much jump on a plane once I was settled. I had to head to Monaco for pre-season training. I think because it was just such go. I didn't really get time to sit back and maybe miss home or get homesick or something, you know, something that's probably quite common, but because it was my first time living away from home. So I wasn't too sure how I was going to go, but because we were such a go, you didn't really have much time to think. You just kind of had to just roll with the punches. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, well, that's fantastic that your partner went with you to go on this journey with you.
Yeah.
What was the first thing? Like, have you been involved in motorsports before? Like, have you been to any of Daniel's races before or watched it? Were you a fan? How did you get behind the biomechanics behind it all?
Yeah, another good question. So I wasn't massively into motorsport. I obviously followed Daniel because he's my friend. So I think in 2010, maybe, I went and saw him I went and saw a race at Silverstone when he was racing in Renault World Series. Actually, no, sorry, 2010. I think I got my bearings on. It was like 2008, so it's earlier than that. 2010, he was way past Renault World Renault Series. And then 2013, I went to Austin to watch him race in Austin. So I was always following his journey, and I was predominantly following motorsports because of him.
Yeah.
And then now, obviously, it's distilled into my life, and you know, because I'm so heavily involved in it, I obviously want to know a lot about the sport. I want to know a lot about the car and why things are done, why, you know, and how things are created, and, you know, why you're setting up the car a certain way. And I think that helps me do my job a lot better. So yeah, to really sum up your question, I wasn't overly interested in it, but I was always super interested when Daniel was making his way up, because it's a friend that's getting a step closer to his dream year by year. And, you know, that's quite inspirational when you have someone on a, you know, as a close friend that's doing great things in the world.
Yeah, so as it comes to feedback, you're saying about the car and getting that data analysis. I'm on this big mission at the moment that I'm trying to find a biomechanist or some sort of data vest that motorsport drivers can have over here in Australia. We seem obviously get a lot of data from the vehicle, but when it comes to the human performance side of things, there's limited things that we can get from the driver other than normal heart rate and things like that. Do you have anything special over there that you were able to get that information, or can you get that information on test days more so than race days?
Believe it or not, we can't. I'm still trying to figure that out. Yeah. The drivers are quite restrictive on what devices they can have on them during a race, and usually, if it is a device on him, it's owned by the FIA, so they have the rights to the data, and it's actually quite difficult to get. I'm still actually trying. I wish I had a better answer for you, but no, it's the data that we have is purely when we're training, and usually when he's racing, I will focus on other aspects of his performance, rather than, like you said, his heart rate and his body temperature and stuff like that.
That's right. Like, I feel like we're past it, but I don't feel like we've got any technology to help us support those things at the moment. So if you're working on something, let me know.
No, there's some amazing companies doing some really innovative stuff with F1, and, you know, they've come quite a long way. You know, like, drivers now wear a little device in their glove which tracks their pulse, and this is mainly from a safety point of view. So if anything does seem to happen to any of the drivers, and whether they go off track, and they can track their pulse, and it makes them understand whether they actually have to attend to the car as quick as possible, or if they know the driver's in a safe state. And I know there's some talks about transferring that little device into the ear, so into their earpieces, so that way they don't have to wear this little device on their wrist. So there's definitely a headway, but as a coach trying to get that information, it's a lot more difficult, unfortunately, because that would be pure gold actually to have.
That's what I think too. And I don't understand in a sport that we're in, you know, as well participated is throughout the world, that we don't have anything like a sport like swimming, cycling. They all seem to have that data analysis, but unfortunately for us, we don't at this point. But as you just said, they are working on something, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Yes, I'm very excited. So, Michael, you've gone to the UK, you've packed up your partner, you've moved into a freezing cold location. You've got there. What was the first thing that you guys did together? Was it pre-season now in January? I've read previously that Daniel did do a lot of martial arts for pre-season training. Is that kind of how you started out? Like, what was the first thing?
No, we didn't do any of that. That was pre me.
All right.
I flew straight to Monaco,
Yeah.
and I hopped on a plane, got there, and I said, "Cool, let's start training." And he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, this is a really nice, beautiful place. How about you take me for a run?" So we actually went for a run, and then we went for a bit of I think we went for a walk to try and just for a big hike, and it ended up being like a 3-hour hike where we just started hiking through France. And so it was almost like a session / hey mate, this is where I'm living, get used to it, because this is where we're going to be for a lot of the time. And I remember it quite well. It was a beautiful summer's morning in Monaco, and there's
I love Monaco. It's beautiful. I could live there.
Well, there's an amazing running track along the coast, and it's a very popular running track. And so we went for, and I never get sick of that running track, by the way. I'm actually heading to Monaco tomorrow, so I'll probably do that in the next 48 hours. But no, but I say that like it's an amazing place to train. Like it's very quiet, and that's why I like it, because you know, the F1 circuit and the F1 schedule is so hectic. You know, wherever we go, there's so many people, there's so many things to do. You don't really get time to do things for yourself. So it is nice to get to Monaco and just have no distractions and just mellow out, really.
Yeah, I see Valtteri lives there as well, and he seems to do a lot of cycling with his partner throughout.
Yeah.
Is it still called the Alps? I don't know, or the mountains there, but it always looks quite scenic as well.
Yeah, a number of the drivers live there. There's quite a few of them that live there. So yeah, it's a bit of a little F1 hub.
Yeah, fantastic. So you've met up, you've gone to Monaco, you've gone on this hike, on a run, and then you're like, okay, cool. So day one, like this is your only client now. Your sole purpose now is to get him to be number one on the podium and to get him finishing number one. So what do you do as far as your position goes?
Yeah, that was probably the hardest thing to adapt, is knowing that I was spending day by day just, following up on, all my clients and making sure that everyone's on top of their nutrition, their programs. And all of a sudden now it's like, oh, wow,
yes,
it's got one person.
Yeah.
So as busy as race weekends are and race weeks are, there are gaps in between where, you do have a lot of spare time on your hands, and it kind of took a while to get used to it. But during our off season, well, it's technically pre-season, we'll do a number of various training methods. We do a lot of strength training, do a lot of cardiovascular training, neck training, obviously, and then when we get closer to the season, I'll start incorporating some reaction training, peripheral training, and starting to sharpen him neurally and get him ready for testing in Barcelona.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely like neck cardio. So when it comes to the cardio, I see the guys do a lot of bike riding, and as you said, like running through the Alps and different altitude training and things like that. Did they do anything else? Anything like, we don't know, like rock climbing or anything like that?
We actually don't cycle. It's yes, I'm that's not me saying there's no benefits in cycling. It's kind of at the point where we enjoy the outdoors, but we actually enjoy running a lot more. So we mix up our running quite a lot. We'll do some long endurance running, then we'll do some interval running, and there's all sorts of stuff that you can do from a running perspective. Yeah. That's mainly what we do cardio wise, and then sometimes we go for long big hikes as well. But yeah, not so much cycling as such. And he also he hates the rower, so I don't get him on the rower at all. He prefers to get outdoors when we do his cardio. So it's usually running.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic, because you're an avid runner yourself. I've seen those in the posts, so that's good for you that you.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And you know what, you see more, and it's a good way of getting out in a bit of nature. It's a good excuse.
Exactly. Like every time I travel with the race teams as well, I always make a point of every morning getting up that extra hour early at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and going for a run and actually seeing where I'm visiting, as opposed to going the track, going back to the airport and flying out. So, whether it's riding or swimming or going for a run, it's always good to get out before you head to the track. So, Michael, you talked about strengthening neck. I'm sure you guys have got all the gizmos over there on about how to strengthen your neck, but do you have any, tricks or strategies for someone who's just starting out in motorsports about how they can go about strengthening their neck?
Yeah, my advice would be start slow. You'd be surprised how heavy your head is, and that's something that you gauge quite quickly when you start actually doing some neck training. So usually starting out, I always recommend doing some safe neck nods and some safe neck rotations, and this is lying on your back on the floor with your feet up crossed, and I usually set a bit of a rep range of 20-20, so 20 neck nods and 20 neck rotations. Actually quite safe movements for anyone starting out trying to build their neck. But however, I will reiterate, start slowly. So I'd probably start with 10 reps and 10 reps and probably do 3 sets of that and see how you pull up the next day. Don't go do 20 reps and 5 rounds. You probably won't be able to move your neck the next day. But yeah, I'd start slowly, and I'd also I'd seek appropriate advice. There's a lot of content on YouTube regarding neck training, and how the NFL boys do it, how the rugby boys do it, and it can be a little bit dangerous if you've got a teenager looking at this stuff and trying to incorporate that into their training. I know even boxers do some really, really interesting neck training. But yeah, I'd say tread carefully and start slow. And what I mean by that is I'd start with the pure body weight exercises, or head exercises, where you're working your neck based on the weight of your head. And yeah, that's something that's not really out there for these type of drivers. I have noticed that. So I'm actually working on something to help all the junior drivers actually have a bit of a protocol when it comes to neck training and performance training. So yeah, I'm creating something which will hopefully be out sometime early next year, as a bit of an ultimate training guide where people can actually grab this training guide and it gives them everything they need from a racing perspective. So I'm quite excited about that.
Fantastic. It sounds very exciting. Make sure you keep us into the loop, and you can email me when it's up and ready, and I'll be happy to promote it for you over here in Oz.
Thank you. No, I definitely will.
And so now, Michael, you've got this gig, you've gone for a run, you've worked at the 2018 racing season. How do you plan, as his personal coach, what the training looks like? Are you doing macro cycles? Like you said, there's a lot of uptime, downtime. Then sometimes race meetings back to back in the same country. I'm interested to also know how do you deal with the international timeline and sleep and nutrition and things like that. So many questions.
Yeah.
Like I said, sorry.
No, but that kind of sums up the sport, right? It's an intricate sport. It's so detailed, It's a good question, because like, when I first started with him, I had this perception that we're just going to be training. So I grabbed the yearly schedule and where all the gaps were. I was like, cool, I'm going to periodize some training here. We're going to do a really cool, heat acclimation sessions here through here to prepare for Budapest and whatnot. And then, come in season, I realized it's not all about training. Yes, you need it's all about maintaining, It's pretty much like kind of any sport, once an athlete's match fit, it's about maintaining and focusing on recovery. So in season is a lot about recovery. And then you've touched on a little bit as to why, is because of the whole flying scenario and being severely jet lagged for a lot of the international flights. So in season is more about maintenance. if anything, we will train the neck a lot just to keep it strong, because you need to keep the neck strong, because these guys are experiencing a lot of G-force throughout the races. These cars every year get quicker and quicker. Therefore, there's more G-force exerted on these guys' necks. So the neck has to stay well conditioned throughout. Probably won't see me putting a barbell on Daniel's back and doing a lot of strength training throughout the in season. I think neurally he needs to rest. So solely focused on recovery. You know, we have some jet lag protocols. You know, and that, you know, to give you a bit of a brief info on that, you know, it's all about timing of you know, transitioning your sleep patterns. So come Monday, you know, it might be go to bed an hour earlier, and then the Tuesday go to bed 2 hours earlier, and then you slowly transition into the time zone when we land on the Wednesday or the Thursday. And it also has information about when you should expose yourself to UV light and when you shouldn't expose yourself to UV light. And then it also has some really cool little patterns of caffeine timing. So caffeine timing will help a lot as well with jet lag. So yeah, in a nutshell, in season's a lot about recovery, sleep, appropriate supplementation. So you know, a lot of magnesium, and just doing the basics right, because we're not privileged to have, you know, like a football club. We can't just walk into a football club and have, you know, state-of-the-art ice baths and recovery facilities. You know, we'd love to have that, but we're in a different country every 7 days. So we can only do what we have. So it's about doing the basics right.
Do you not have an ice bath in the transporter?
We have a portable one that we I think, maybe like 3 or 4 races we'll put together and use it. But usually after a race, we got a flight that night. So it's an engineering meeting, and then it's shower, pack your bags, I'll make him a quick recovery smoothie, and off we go. So and then you're on a plane, and you're still a bit amped, you know, you're still wired, and if you can't sleep on the plane, and then it's like, oh geez. So Sundays are tough.
And do you do any massage therapy with Daniel, or does he have a massage therapist to help like with the recovery and prior to race events?
Yeah, so mostly every F1 team has a massage therapist. So if he has a bit of a niggle here or there, he can get a massage. But yeah, we have Theraguns everywhere at the moment. So we got that with us mostly all the time. So if anything, I'll just get a Theragun into him into his muscles that, you know, he needs attention. So but yeah, to answer your question, most F1 teams have a sports therapist as such. That way, if mechanics need any treatment, they can get it done. So because you'd be surprised, these mechanics, they're extreme workers. They work like 16-hour days, and you know, if there's one thing that I've noticed is like they're always, you know, popping out a rib or something because they're picking up so many tires and so many heavy things throughout the day. It's just these teams definitely need a sports therapist / physiotherapist on board. So we're quite lucky where we have a resource there.
That's fantastic, and I'm a big advocate of trying to promote that the pit crew is just as important as the driver. And when it does come
definitely
when it comes to all of this that we're talking about, wellness, health, fitness, mindset, that the pit crew should be included as well, because they just attribute to the performance as much as the driver does. So I hear you.
Couldn't agree more.
I'm all for it. But do tell us, what is a Theragun for those that don't know?
Okay, so it's just essentially a massage gun. So yeah, you just pretty much, and it's really good for recovery, for trigger pointing, but it's also really good for I don't know, something that probably people don't. If people do have a Theragun, they're probably not too aware of. It's actually really good for pre-activation. So getting it on the muscles that you're predominantly going to use before your training session or game day. So we use it as a pre-activation strategy as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's exciting. All right, so Michael, you spoke about during the seasons, it's about recovery. Beforehand, the pre-season's a lot of running, conditioning side of things. Do you have an off season? Do you guys get a month or two off that you actually get to come home and enjoy some sunshine, other than the last couple of months when you guys have been in lockdown over in Perth, but normally throughout a race season?
Yeah, definitely. So usually the last race finishes around the 1st to the 4th of December. So that's kind of when we head back to Perth, and I say kindly to Daniel, delete my number and spend some time with your friends and family, because the season is, I think it's one of the longest sporting seasons in the world. We start in March and end in December. It's crazy. So come December, I say, look, he gets the entire month off. I don't hear from him. He doesn't hear from me. It's actually important that me and him actually have a bit of cold turkey from each other, because we're spending so much time together. It can get quite full on. So I won't hear from him in December, and that's my time to go away and plan January, February, March, and also spend time with my family and friends that I haven't seen. And then come first week of Jan, we're back into it. We're ready to rock.
I'm going to ask you a personal question, and you can decline if you wish, but does your partner attend the race meetings with you, Michael? Or how does that work? As you said, you're away pretty much like 20 weekends a year.
Yeah, that's fine. She, not all of them, like the ones that can work. So usually the European races generally work, because living in London, you realise you can just jump on a plane or a train for 2 hours and you're in a new country. Like it's amazing. It is bizarre, especially when you come from Australia. So yes, to answer your question, yes, most of the Europeans, when she can, but obviously this year no, because there's no fans allowed. But yeah, it's one of the privileges we have of living quite central in London, and I think like 70% of the calendar is in Europe, so it's quite easy to jump on somewhere on a Friday and get back before work on Monday. So,
and it's always great that we start off the F1 season over here in Oz.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's really good, great weather, but great excuse to come back, really.
Yeah, fantastic. So apart from the physical aspect of Daniel's training, what else do you assist him with? Do you help with nutritional mindset, or does he have other coaches for that as well? You did mention about doing some sort of supplementation, but do you work with a sports dietitian, sports psych, or are you it?
I'm pretty much it. So I'll do his training, I'll do his nutrition, I'll do his supplementation. And then come race weekends, it's the same. I'm pretty much the guy that prepares him to perform. That's not saying we don't get any external help. So that there are partners out there that we do talk to and get some advice on particular things. But when it comes to organising all that and setting all that up, that's me. So it's busy. Like it keeps me busy, especially race weekends. It's full on.
Yeah, so can you talk us through what happens on a race weekend? How do you warm up, or what is your role on a race weekend? And when does your role start? Does it start on a Wednesday, or you have Wednesday, Thursday to just have it somewhere quietly and the track on Friday whilst he's doing all the sponsorship things?
Yeah, well, my role never stops. So yes, we get to a particular country for the race, but my role once we get to the track doesn't really change from what it was, outside the track. I'm still training him, I'm still preparing him, still making sure that he's mentally fit and mentally on task. So we usually land on a Wednesday for most European races. When it comes to international races and there's a tougher time zone difference, we'll probably land on like the Monday or Tuesday and try to get 3-4 days to adapt to the time zone. Thursday is very, very casual for me. For Daniel, it's all media commitments. So he's running around Thursday doing a lot of media stuff. It's usually half a day at the track. And then, we'll fly in usually on a Wednesday. We'd probably do some sort of light movement sessions on the Wednesday night, just because we've been on a flight and we've been sitting down. So usually we just get on the spin bike and do a light cycle at the hotel gym, just to promote the blood flow. And then Thursday morning we do I've created like a dynamic flow session where we just do some dynamic warm-ups for 45 minutes.
Awesome.
And that's something that I've incorporated into Daniel's morning routine, and it's helped him quite a lot. And then Thursday, like I said, he'll have his media commitments. And then Friday and Saturday are big days at the track. We're probably at the track for 14 hours, I reckon. Probably, 12 to 14 hours we're at the track on a Friday and Saturday. So that's when you got your 2 practice sessions on Friday, and then your third practice and the qualifying on the Saturday. So Daniel's running around doing that. He has engineering meetings, he has meet and greets. And then in between that, I'm liaising with the chefs to get particular meals ready at particular times, because he only has a particular amount of time to eat. So, meal timing, I'm always making sure that he's got a water bottle in his hands. So, hydration protocols. So I'm just that guy that's just kind of like putting that drink on the table when he's forgotten it. And then, putting the meal in front of him when he's forgotten, giving him his subs, all that kind of stuff, just making sure that it's pretty much making his life as easy as it can be. And that's what he needs. He needs to be able to go to a race weekend and have some sort of convenience there in the palm of his hand. So I'm pretty much there just to make his life convenient. So making sure that he doesn't have to worry about his food, doesn't have to worry about his nutrition, his supplementation, doesn't have to worry about his training, because I'm there to do it for him. So, and that kind of helps him, I guess, mentally as well, because, you don't want a stressed driver heading into Sunday.
And Michael, I'm not saying Daniel's a diva, but questioning, when it comes to accommodation bedding, do you have to ring up and say he likes a hard bed with 4 pillows that are extra hard and soft? All of those 5-star restaurants, 5-star hotels, do have those options. But definitely, is that how in depth that you're going, saying he'd like a hard or soft bed, this and that kind of pillow?
Not the bed. So to answer your question, it's kind of most hotels we stay where the team recommends, because that's where the team usually that's if the team stays at a particular hotel, they prefer all the staff stay at that particular hotel. So you kind of just roll with that. And regarding a pillow, we've kind of just purchased a travel pillow. So it's a memory foam pillow that rolls up and it can fit in your suitcase. And I make sure that Daniel travels with that on planes as well. So when we're flying, I make sure that he has it on him, so that way he can use it on the flight, and then he obviously uses it in the hotel. But yeah, we do quite a bit. We have some pretty fancy eye masks that we've incorporated that are quite comfortable, and quite a little tricks of the trade here and there on a flight as well, how to get optimal sleep. But no, I've nothing to do with the mattress. That's an interesting one. But it's definitely warranted for some athletes for sure. But I think the pillow's been the main difference for Daniel. Sometimes he's woken up with a bit of a stiff neck because the pillows are too soft. So as you can tell, having a stiff neck to drive a car is not ideal. So hence getting him a pillow that he prefers.
Yeah, and hence the question why I asked about the bedding and. Does he take appropriate things with you? Let's move on to his mental well-being or mental prep prior to a race meet. Again, that's something that you're involved in. We know that he loves putting his headphones on. Well, that's what we see on the TV, and to psych himself up prior to the race. Is there more to it? Are you guys doing a briefing session prior to qualifying, prior to each race event, or how does his mental prep work?
That's fine. I won't go into too much detail, because that's our little that's me and Dan, but that's me and Dan's time. But I will vaguely run over it. So usually we get about 45 minutes before the race. So that's when we go through some dynamic stretching. We do some pre-muscle activation techniques. We'll do some movement stuff to some spinal movement stuff to get him neurally switched on, and then we usually that morning we'll talk more about the race and where his head's at and what's he thinking, and I'll throw some certain scenarios at him and just get him in the zone and get him thinking about the race ahead. Get him thinking about where he's situated on the grid for the starting grid. What's your thoughts coming into turn 1, 2, and 3, and just get him to I'm getting him thinking pretty much. And when it comes to the mental side of things, there's definitely I will say this from a psychological aspect of racing. I definitely think it's a big part of racing, but you have to believe in it for it to work. And you can train your mind to do anything. That's something I do believe in, and I'm quite fortunate because Daniel does believe in the whole mental aspect of training. So we will do some mental training, and I also will focus on his mental side during a race. So, his temperament during particular times in a race, when he's attacking, when he's defending, how he reacts, is he reactive, a whole bunch of scenarios. But that's usually our race preparation for the 45 minutes. And then we'll just talk through about what our goals are and what we're going to achieve for the race. And then usually after the grid and the ceremony, the national anthem, I should say, we have about 8 minutes before he has to jump in the car. About 10, 11 minutes before he has to jump in the car. So you usually see us walk into the garage after the national anthem, and that's when we do our final gear up. And that's when we'll do some peripheral training, some reaction training, and that's when he'll start to really ramp up. So we like to stay in a bit of a relaxed state throughout the day, just to conserve the energy, conserve the mind, and then once we get in that garage, we start to really ramp up. So the energy ramps up from me, the energy ramps up from him, the music energy ramps up. So you start hearing his music starts getting quite heavier, and he starts to really, be in the moment and be ready for the race. So that's kind of usually how it goes. And then once we get back onto the grid, he has about 3 minutes to himself before he has to jump in the car. So that's when I'll let him sit on the grass with his music and let him, self-evaluate for himself. I think it's important that he has time to reflect on himself on what he needs to do. And then I'll give him a last minute little prep talk before he puts the helmet on. And that's usually how it goes.
And then what about on those rare occasions when the race plan doesn't go to plan that we've seen previously, Michael? Are you the man that once he comes in and he storms out of the garage, that he comes and talks to? Are you the first person that's in his corner, or how does that go down? And again, you don't need to divulge, you don't want to, but what happens when a race plan doesn't go to plan?
Yeah, and that's racing, right? I think any driver, whether you're an amateur or professional, you're probably going to relate to that question. And that's racing. One day you're on the podium, the next day you could be out turn one. That's just how it goes. And so racing is definitely an emotional roller coaster. There can be weeks or months where you feel like you've got the monkey on your back, and then there's other months that just feel like you've just got this amazing rhythm that no one can stop you. But yeah, as a coach, that's definitely my role. My role is to be a sounding board a lot. You have to understand what these guys are thinking. You have to understand why they're thinking the way they're thinking. You have to know when to push them. You have to know when you're going to be, a friend as such, and sit back and listen. So, this is all about being a coach. You have to know you're the individual, and yes. So when Daniel does go back to, when we do have had a difficult race as such, then we go back into the rooms, and then I'm the guy that will they'll sit there and talk him through it, and that's part of the journey, right? That's part of chasing the dream. You're going to have ups and you're going to have downs.
Definitely. Fantastic. I've got some questions from my social media pages, if you don't mind, Mike.
Sure.
Very exciting. There's just a couple. Well, you've answered a few, so I'm not going to go over the ones I feel like we've answered. But Barb has asked, can you ask what exercises best stimulate the strength and endurance drivers need to compete?
Hi, Barb. Look, that question, you're probably not going to like the answer, but that depends. That depends on the athlete, and every individual is going to have, weaker points than others. But as a general rule of thumb, I'd say work on your core. So when I say core, your abs, your lower back, so your QLs, your glutes as well. If you have a strong core base, I think being able to control the car, control the go-kart through your hips, it's going to go a long way into actually improving your driving capabilities.
Yeah, I think people are astounded over here, like when we give out programs for karting and beginner competitors, that it is a lot body weight stuff, that it can be home based, and they think, oh, well, the program must be crap because I'm not at the gym and I'm not doing heavy weights. With that, obviously just doing an online program, it's hard to explain like the importance of doing all of these things, just, doing the 5 neck nods or something like that. They'll be like, oh, this is crap. Like, I can do that at home. But, biomechanical, like we know as trainers and coaches that it's really important to be doing these exercises. But I think it's very hard for people who just think that athletes train in the gym, they do resistance training and they get bulky, and that's how they become a driver.
No, yeah. Well, look, I think based on this COVID scenario and being in home for 3 months, I think people's perception should change from that. If that is the perception, you can most definitely train your core at a very, very good standard with literally nothing with body weight, and that's what me and Daniel have been doing for 3 months. And he's hitting PBs with his core. So and that's us just being at his farm. Training body weight. So, that's other information that I'm going to obviously put on this guide of mine. So it's quite interesting that I'm glad that you that those questions are coming out, because that's something that I see as well, is that people's perception is that they need a ton of equipment, but as long as you periodize and plan your training well, and you have an optimal goal and you do the exercises correctly, there's no doubt you can definitely become an improved athlete.
Thanks for that, Michael. Karina's asked, nutrition is important to training. What are the top 3 tips you give Daniel to keep stamina and strength? Okay,
that's good. So we stick to a balanced diet. So making sure you get a lot of greens. So eating a lot of your vegetables, that would be my number one. Getting sufficient amount of protein, all right, for muscle recovery. And understanding probably your carbohydrates timing as well, especially on race days. So understanding what type of carbs and when you should eat your carbohydrates. But if anyone comes to me with some advice, I'd always say, try and make sure that at least 50% of your plate has vegetables on it, and it should be colourful. So when I say by colourful, it's just as many colours as you can on that plate, the better it is.
Yeah, and we've just actually finished a recipe book that we're rolling out to all of the karting clubs in Australia. So for them to serve healthy options, they can buy it in bulk, but then it can also be like tailored for vegans and vegetarians and plant-based diets and all of that stuff. So there's just 15 recipes, but breakfast, lunch and snacks, and some drinks in there as well, and just trying to get that continuity so that when the drivers are going to the tracks, if they do have any allergies or food preferences, they know that they can buy them there, because I know from my perspective that a lot of the drivers who do have allergies or prefer to eat a special way do struggle to buy those products at the canteens, and then knowing that the canteen do obviously want to make a profit as well, but unfortunately the old hot dogs, pies and hot chips and cans of Coke isn't really going to help our drivers going forward. So maybe I can add that to your program. I'll send it through. So Karina and I, we also offer massage therapy at the racetracks, but unlike every team having one, we just try and do it per racetrack. And so she asked, what part does soft tissue therapy, massage and physio have in Daniel's training and recovery? Like, is it regular?
Yeah, so usually we will probably use some massage therapy quite a lot on the Thursdays, mainly because of the flight. So you're a bit stiff on the Wednesday from the flight. So we usually like to use a bit of massage therapy on the Thursday, loosen him up and making him feel good for Friday, because he's jumping in the car on the Friday. So Thursday is when we usually you get a full body just loosen up. And then usually probably again on the Sunday as well. Unfortunately, we don't get the privilege to do it post-race, because we're pretty much on the road off on a flight. But definitely, as soon as we land, I'll get the massage gun into him for sure. So it is definitely a big part of recovery, 100%. Have
you ever had a fight? Can I ask that?
Who, with Daniel?
Yes. Like, do you ever just go, like with your partner, like obviously like,
oh no, I'm sure like,
husbands, like your work husbands and wife, like,
yeah, work husband, that's a good one.
That's right. Like, do you ever just go, you know what, does he ever, or you ever just go, just, because you guys do spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, look, I think I'd be lying if I said he's annoyed me, and he'd probably say the same. I've annoyed him, but we haven't had it like a fight. No, none at all. If anything, if we're frustrated with each other, it's probably because that we're spending too much time with each other more than anything. It's we actually work quite well. We've never had a fight, and I don't know if that's that's a good thing or not, but yeah, I find no. To answer your question, no.
There you go. You've been in lockdown for 3 months, and they say, like, if you're going to have a fight, then that's when it was going to occur.
Yeah, no. I think the closest thing we came to a fight was about 2 months ago when I couldn't beat him at table tennis, and he kept throwing banter at me, and I think I snapped. But that's about it.
A few more questions, Michael. Xavier said, what are the key body strengths a race car driver needs? Is it core, arms, or neck? What is the best way for a driver to improve their reaction time?
Okay, so for body weight, I guess for the neck's important, but it also depends on what grade you're racing at, and that will determine how important the neck is. But yeah, I definitely always say as a fundamental, neck and core are your two main, I guess, your main areas that you want to keep strong. You do want to keep your shoulders quite strong, relatively strong too, because there's an element of control on the steering wheel. So I think for a bang for your buck exercise, a push-up is great. A correct push-up is great, because if you're doing push-ups correctly, you're working your chest, you're working your shoulders, and you're also working your core. So it's a great bang for your buck body weight exercise that we do a lot when we are restricted for equipment. It just makes sense.
I don't know if you've got it over there, but over here we've got the push-up challenge happening for men's mental health. And
yes, I've seen that.
And seeing all the bad techniques, I feel like as a keyboard warrior, I want to write down.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing what you're saying, but seeing all these guys doing these push-ups really fast and does my head in. Flipping Mad Motorsports, Michael asks, is it better to do more strength training or cardio as a racing car driver?
Again, depends. I would say, to answer a question like that, be honest with yourself, do a self-evaluation and find out what your weaknesses are. If your weaknesses are that you find that you're fatiguing in the last 10 laps of a race, well then why are you fatiguing? Is it your fitness? Is it your strength? You have to be honest with yourself and find where your weak points are, and work on them and turn them into a strength. But I'd say, as a general rule of thumb, it's equal. You need to work on both elements.
I agree. And Karen asks, can you ask what he does in the way of strength and conditioning training in the gym, please?
Yeah, cool. Okay, we do a whole range of exercises. It always changes, but as a rule of thumb, I do like the compound movements. I think the compound movements are very important with any athlete. So the compound movements being bench press, squatting, bent over rows, and deadlifts. I do have to be careful with Daniel a bit, because he puts on muscle very, very easily on his legs. So I actually can't work his legs too much. But I think the most consistent thing that we do in the gym would be it's an exercise called stir the pot. So it works your core, and it also works on an big exercise ball, and it's really good for scapular stability, which is really good for steering. So that's an exercise I love. I love a weighted Cossack squat. The reason why I love a weighted Cossack squat is I think it's just one of the most premium mobility exercises that anyone can do when it comes to ankle mobility, knee mobility, hip mobility. I think that's a really, really good exercise to do in the gym. And I also like overhead movements, standing overhead movements. I think it's a great core and great for strength as well. So there's some three elements you could easily incorporate into your strength training, and I think you'll get some really quick gains.
Are the sessions long, Michael, that you're doing in the gym? I wouldn't imagine so.
No, maximum 45 minutes. Fundamentally, you should be working at 45 minutes and you should be wrecked, right?
Right, that's what
yeah, but again, it depends on the athlete. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. But in the gym, we're not in there for longer than, we're not working for longer than 45. Obviously, if you include warm up, warm down, then that's different. But yeah, we're not working for longer than 45 minutes.
Fantastic. So you have had an unusual run up into the first round this year. You guys have been locked down in Daniel's farm over in Perth for 3 months. And like you said, you've just been trying to utilise equipment and bodyweight training over there. When did you go back to the UK, and what have you been doing in preparation for the upcoming race?
I got back here about 3 weeks ago. So I'm not with Daniel at the moment. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure.
Yes. So I'm not actually with Daniel at the moment. So we will join forces tomorrow. So I've sent him a plan. So he's got a bit of a training schedule that he has to achieve every day. So I'll get 7 days with him as of tomorrow before we head off to Austria for the first race. So that's, again, another little training period that we'll spend together in Monaco. But it's kind of just keeping momentum, really, from the last 3 months that we've had in Perth, building up to it, really. So it's just kind of building up momentum and just keeping that training load going and making sure he's staying healthy.
And I know, Michael, you mentioned that you just train like for the season, periodization, and then recovery during the in-season. But is there any tracks that you actually train specifically for? I mean, Singapore being in the night race, do you train differently for that? Some of those hotter countries like Dubai and stuff, are there specific training measures that you have to put up in the lead up to those events?
For like Budapest, Singapore, and in the United Emirates, we usually do some heat acclimation training, like 10 days out. So just getting him used to the heat. So doing a session and then sticking him in a sauna for about 15 minutes. And that's research shows that actually helps with endurance as well. So yes, to answer your question, we do.
Only 10 weeks out. That's good. I thought it was good.
Sorry, 10 days out. 10 days out. So obviously if we had longer, we would, but there's studies out there that show that 10 days is sufficient to help. So and to improve. So that's usually how we go about it. Usually Budapest, Singapore. And then Abu Dhabi too.
Fantastic. So Michael, just wrapping up tonight, I really appreciate all the time you've given us over the past hour. I've got lots out of it, no doubt our listeners have as well. But you're not just a performance coach for a Formula One driver, you also have an online fitness coaching programs for general populations. Can you tell us a little about those?
Yeah, it's pretty much trying to get back to my grassroots of training people. After 2 years with Daniel, I kind of wanted to, after everything I've learned, I still want to give back. I still miss, working in a gym in Perth and training all these people. It's still very rewarding. So I've set up this platform, www.michaelitaliano.com, where I'm going to be putting out premium programs, mainly all in-home programs, actually. So you can do stuff at home. I'm doing a heap of nutrition as well. So you get a heap of healthy recipes. And then obviously I'm going to move into a bit more specialized stuff for motorsports. So amateur drivers that need and want some information regarding training, nutrition, jet lag protocols, all that kind of stuff that's not really out there. It is, but you can't really find it in one source. You got to kind of go through a few sources to get all that kind of information. So I'm really excited. It's a platform where you can follow your programs on your phone. You can track your weight. You can track your notes. It's a proper goal setting programs, a 5-week program. So and it's I've had a really good first impression with it, and it's gonna forever grow. But it's my little side hobby away from Daniel, which is it's good to have. When you want to you need something away from F1 when you need a bit of a break.
Yeah, and is this the ultimate goal for Michael? Like, what's the grand plan for Michael Italiano coaching?
The grand plan is to win a world championship with Daniel. That's the grand plan.
Fantastic.
But yes, I have some big aspirations for this website and how I want it to go. And I think if you stay on track with it all and you want to stay up to date with it all, you'll see it's going to evolve quite quickly over the next 1 or 2 years. And I'm going to put a ton of information on there. Takes time, but it will be quite a good resource and website for health and fitness, and also for people that are training in motorsports, but also if they're interested in motorsports as well.
Yeah, but you do put out a lot of free content over on your Instagram account. What is
your
Instagram handle so people can go over and follow it, because I'm very impressed with it.
Yeah, it's just it's at Michael Italiano. So yeah, I do. I post a lot of free weekly workouts, like home circuit workouts, free recipes, healthy recipes. A lot of me and Daniel's training, so you can get exclusive access to how me and Daniel train and what we're training. So yeah, that's usually what I do. I like to, share a bit of our life and my life and what my job entails.
Well, I appreciate it, and I know lots of my fans and Daniel's fans appreciate it as well. So thank you for giving us an insight behind what you do as your career, and also insight into how a Formula 1 driver does train. I really appreciate your time, Michael. And again, how can people follow you, or what's your website address?
Yeah, so if you want to follow me, my main two platforms would be my website, so www.michaelitaliano.com, and my Instagram at Michael Italiano. So get a ton of content there, ton of free stuff. So yeah, check it out.
Well, all the very best for 2020. What is the remainder of a crazy, crazy, crazy year? No doubt, I assume that you'll be working with Daniel in 2021. So hopefully be a little bit more exciting next year. New race team next year for you guys. Yep. New uniform, new space. So all the very best. And yeah, I'd love to have you back on once you've got that motorsport program up and running, and we can talk a little bit more in depth about that.
For sure. I'd love to. Thanks, Belinda.
Thank you very much, Michael, for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, thanks everyone for listening to this week's show. I really hope you enjoyed that one as much as I did. Now, remember, all the show notes with the links and the specials mentioned in today's show are available over at MotiV8Training.com.au. If you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you could head to iTunes or Stitcher, type in Motorsport Coaching, subscribe, and leave us a review. Each week, I'll read them out, and you'll go into a monthly draw to win a fantastic prize. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at MotiV8Training.com.au or head over to our Facebook page at MotiV8T. Until next time, take care.